The planet Xerex was not kind to its inhabitants. Rocky cliffs rose sharply against the gray skies, and violent storms often swept across the barren plains. The Velorians, a small alien species, had tried to make this place their home, building colonies from the scarce resources the planet offered. But survival was never easy. Each day brought new challenges, and each night reminded them how fragile their lives were. Taro, a young Velorian officer, moved quickly through the rubble of what was once a thriving settlement. Buildings had crumbled under repeated attacks from the Korati, a fierce and relentless species. The Korati did not show mercy. They burned forests, destroyed homes, and captured anyone they could find. Taro had lost friends, family, and neighbors in these attacks, yet he could not give up. He had a duty to protect the survivors and find a way to save his people. In the ruins of an old space station, Taro stumbled across a strange device half buried under debris. Its metal surface was scratched and worn, but it still hummed with energy. Curious, he brushed off the dust and pressed a small button. A faint blue light appeared, along with symbols he did not fully understand. Taro studied the device and realized it was a communication machine, one that could send messages across vast distances in space. He remembered old stories told by the elders about humans, a species once said to be skilled in space travel and clever in battle. For days, Taro worked on the device. He repaired broken circuits and replaced damaged components with parts scavenged from the ruins. Other Velorians watched him, unsure if it would help or if it was just a foolish idea. "Do you really think humans will answer?" one asked. Taro looked at the young Velorian and shook his head slowly. "I do not know," he said, "but we have no other choice. If we do not try, we will be gone by sunrise tomorrow." That evening, as storms raged outside, Taro finally finished his work. He typed out a message, explaining the plight of his people, the danger of the Korati, and a simple plea for help. His claws trembled as he activated the device. A bright beam of light shot into the sky, carrying the message far beyond Xerex, into the depths of space. The Velorians gathered around, watching silently. They had never sent a message like this before. Some prayed, some hoped, and some simply held their breath. Hours passed, and nothing happened. The sky remained gray, the storms continued, and the Velorians began to feel the weight of despair creeping back. Taro refused to give up. He checked the device again and adjusted its frequency, ensuring the message reached as far as possible. He thought about humans, imagining what they might be like. Stories spoke of their bravery, intelligence, and ability to face impossible odds. Taro dared to hope that if humans existed, they would answer his call. The next day brought no reply, but Taro noticed something unusual in the sky. A faint light, growing slowly brighter with each passing hour, appeared on the horizon. The Velorians gasped. Could it be the humans? The light moved steadily, unlike the stars or distant storms. Taro felt a mixture of fear and excitement. "Prepare yourselves," he said, his voice firm. "If these are humans, they will be powerful. We must be ready to follow their lead." Velorians scurried to fortify the remaining shelters and organize small defense squads. Taro inspected the edges of the colony, checking for Korati scouts. The air was tense, filled with uncertainty and hope. Every eye watched the growing light in the sky. For the first time in months, the Velorians felt a sense of anticipation rather than dread. As the light drew closer, Taro could make out the shapes of massive ships, sleek and strong, unlike anything Xerex had ever seen. They hovered above the planet, casting shadows that stretched across the rocky plains. The Velorians stared in awe. These were no ordinary ships. They were warships, built for strength, speed, and precision. Taro felt his heart pound with both fear and admiration. He had hoped humans would come, but seeing them now was more astonishing than he had imagined. One of the ships opened a communication channel. A calm, authoritative voice spoke in perfect Velorian, though with a rhythm unfamiliar to their ears. "We received your message. We are here to help. Do not fear. You are not alone." The words filled the colony with a warmth that no storm could wash away. Taro looked at his people, their faces reflecting relief and disbelief. The impossible had happened. The humans had answered their call. Taro knew this was only the beginning. The Korati were still a threat, and Zarex remained a dangerous world. But for the first time, he felt hope burn brightly in his chest. Help had arrived, and with humans on their side, survival was no longer just a dream. It was a possibility. Far away from Zarex, the human starship Resolute traveled at incredible speed through the vast darkness of space. Admiral Rena stood on the bridge, her hands resting lightly on the rail as she studied the incoming message. It was clear, urgent, and desperate. A small alien colony was under attack by a powerful enemy called the Korati. The message asked for help. Rena was known across human space as a wise and daring leader. She did not hesitate. She called her officers together and explained the situation. "The Velorians are in danger. Their planet is harsh, but they are asking for help. We cannot ignore this." Her voice was steady and confident. Around her, the crew nodded. They were ready. The humans were not ordinary soldiers. They were part of a fleet called the Deathworlders, specialized in dangerous missions on hostile planets. They had faced deadly creatures, strange worlds, and enemies stronger than themselves. Yet, each challenge had made them smarter, braver, and more prepared. Now, they were heading towards Zarex, where danger and uncertainty awaited them. As the fleet moved through space, the crew prepared for the mission. Fighters were loaded with energy weapons, ships were checked for damage, and strategies were discussed. Lieutenant Mara, Rena's second in command, studied the information about the Korati. "They are aggressive and advanced," she said. "But they underestimate determination. We can outsmart them if we plan carefully." Rena smiled slightly. "Exactly. Strength is important, but intelligence, patience, and courage are even more powerful. We do not fight alone. We fight with the Velorians." The idea of working with an alien species excited some crew members, while others were nervous. None of them had seen the Velorians before, and they did not know if the aliens could survive a fight against the Korati. Days passed as the fleet approached Zarex. Rena often walked along the bridge, observing her crew and checking reports. Sensors picked up the planet below. It was as dangerous as the message had described. Storms raged across its surface, mountains and canyons cut through the plains, and signs of destruction were everywhere. Still, small signals of life remained. The Velorians were alive, hiding, and waiting for help. The crew began planning their landing carefully. Large ships could not safely touch the surface, so smaller, faster vessels would carry troops and supplies. Rena divided her team into groups, each responsible for a specific task. "Some of us will engage the enemy directly," she said. "Others will protect the Velorians and ensure their safety. Everyone has a role. Every action counts." Meanwhile, the Velorians on Zarex looked up at the approaching fleet. Taro and his companions were amazed. The ships were huge, shining like silver in the light of the planet's sun. Taro felt a mixture of fear and hope. Could the humans really save them? Could they defeat the Korati? He had never seen technology like this. It was unlike anything Zarex had ever known. When the fleet entered orbit, Rena established contact with Taro. "We are here," she said. "We will help you. Stay calm, follow our instructions, and survive." Her voice was strong and reassuring. Taro repeated the words to the Velorians, who cheered softly. For the first time in months, the colony felt a spark of hope. The humans did not waste time. They began scanning the planet for Korati positions. Drones flew ahead, mapping the terrain, while the main ships remained in orbit. Rena watched the readings carefully. The enemy is stronger than we thought, she said. But we will use the land to our advantage. Xerex is harsh, but it can be our ally. The Velorians were nervous but willing to help. Rena asked Taro to guide her team through the safest routes, avoiding Korati patrols. The humans moved with precision, combining advanced technology with careful planning. The crew respected the Velorians' knowledge of their own planet, and the Velorians were inspired by the humans' courage and skill. At night, as storms rumbled across the planet, Taro watched the human fleet above. Lights from the ships reflected on the rocks and clouds, creating a bright, protective shield. He felt a sense of relief. Humans were not just soldiers, they were strategists, allies, and a reason to believe that his people could survive. Rena stood on the bridge of her ship, looking down at Xerex. She thought about the challenges ahead, the unknown enemy, and the harsh environment. This will not be easy, she told her officers. But we are humans. We face danger and find a way to succeed. The Velorians will survive because we are here. And together, we are stronger than the Korati. As the first small ships descended toward the planet, carrying humans ready for battle, Taro felt hope rising in his chest. The impossible had begun to feel possible. Humans were on Xerex, and the fight to save his people was about to start. The story of courage, intelligence, and determination had begun, and the Velorians were ready to follow the humans into the unknown. The human fleet hovered above Xerex, massive ships casting long shadows over the jagged landscape. Smoke and dust rose from the burned plains, evidence of the Korati's recent attacks. Taro stood at the edge of the settlement, eyes wide, watching the humans carefully. He had expected them to be strong, but their size and precision were beyond anything he had imagined. The humans were calm, organized, and ready for action. Admiral Rena studied the readings from the orbiting sensors. The Korati had built fortified positions along the cliffs and plateaus, using the natural terrain to their advantage. They had placed energy cannons and traps to slow down any attackers. Rena turned to Lieutenant Mara and said, "We need a plan that uses the land, the Velorians, and our fleet together. Brute force alone will not win this fight." Taro approached the humans cautiously. "Your ships are large," he said, "but the Korati know the terrain well. How will you defeat them?" Rena smiled. "Knowledge, patience, and courage," she replied. "We will use your guidance, Taro. You know this planet better than we do. We will move carefully, strike smartly, and protect your people." The humans deployed small landing crafts first. They glided silently through the stormy skies, touching down near the settlement without disturbing the fragile structures. Troops disembarked, carrying energy weapons, tools, and supplies. Their movements were deliberate, practiced, and calm. Taro noticed how they worked together, communicating without raising their voices, coordinating every step. The Velorians watched in awe. Rena called a meeting with Taro and other Velorian leaders. "We must divide responsibilities," she said. "Some of us will engage the Korati directly. Others will protect your families and civilians. Some will gather information and disable enemy equipment." The Velorians nodded, feeling a mixture of fear and excitement. For the first time, they had a chance to fight back with guidance from experienced warriors. The first day was spent scouting. Humans and Velorians moved in small groups, carefully avoiding the Korati patrols. They mapped the terrain, located enemy camps, and identified the best positions for future strikes. Taro led them through narrow canyons and rocky hills, explaining where ambushes were likely and which paths were safest. The humans listened closely, respecting every piece of advice. Their eyes shone with curiosity and determination. As night fell, the humans set up small temporary shelters. Fires burned brightly, but they were careful not to attract attention. Rena gathered her officers around her and spoke quietly. "Tomorrow, we strike strategically. We will not attack blindly. We will use the terrain, your knowledge, and our technology to make the Korati regret underestimating us. The officers nodded, ready for whatever challenges awaited. Meanwhile, Taro spoke to his people. The humans are strong, he said. But they will fight alongside us. We have guidance, weapons, and courage. We are not helpless anymore. We can protect our home. The Velorians cheered softly. Their fear was still present, but hope was stronger now. They saw a chance for survival, and they were ready to follow the humans' lead. The next morning, the first human patrol moved toward a small Korati outpost. Taro and a group of Velorian fighters accompanied them. They moved silently, using the natural shadows and rocky terrain to hide their approach. When they reached the outpost, the humans demonstrated their skill. Energy weapons disabled Korati guards before they could sound an alarm, and advanced scanners identified traps and weapons hidden in the ground. Taro watched closely, learning from their strategies. They are precise, he thought. They do not waste energy or time. Every action has a purpose. He realized that the humans were not just strong, they were clever, patient, and willing to adapt. It was not just bravery that made them powerful, it was intelligence and teamwork. By midday, the humans had neutralized the outpost. They had captured Korati equipment and freed several Velorian prisoners. Taro felt a swell of pride. His people were witnessing what could be achieved with careful planning and courage. The humans had not only fought, they had taught. Rina gathered her team again. We are making progress, she said. But the Korati are still strong. They will fight back. We must stay focused, use the terrain, and work with the Velorians. Victory will come from strategy, courage, and determination, not just weapons. Her words inspired the team, reminding them that humans had faced impossible odds before and emerged victorious. That evening, Taro stood on a cliff overlooking the plains. The human ships glimmered in the sky, and the distant sounds of Korati activity reminded him of the danger that still lurked. Yet, he felt hope for the first time in many months. Humans were here, guiding, protecting, and fighting alongside his people. The impossible seemed possible. Xerex might survive after all, and the Velorians would have a chance to reclaim their home. The morning sun rose over the jagged cliffs of Xerex, casting long shadows across the burned plains. The Velorians were tense, but hope filled their hearts. Today was the day humans and Velorians would face the Korati directly. Taro stood at the edge of the settlement, watching the human troops prepare. Every movement was precise, every weapon checked carefully, and every plan discussed in low, calm voices. Admiral Rina gathered her officers for the final briefing. The Korati know we are here, she said. They will fight fiercely. But we have the advantage of knowledge, preparation, and determination. Stick to the plan. Protect the Velorians. We fight smart, not blindly. Her voice was steady, inspiring confidence in everyone present. Taro led a group of Velorian fighters alongside human squads. They moved silently through the rocky terrain, avoiding Korati patrols and using narrow canyons for cover. Humans carried advanced scanners and energy weapons, while the Velorians carried what they could find. Despite the differences, the two groups moved together like one unit, blending courage, knowledge, and skill. The first clash came sooner than expected. A small Korati patrol appeared on a ridge above the canyon. They were armed with energy rifles and aggressive instincts. Humans reacted instantly. Blinding beams of light disabled the enemy weapons before the Korati could fire. The aliens were strong and fast, but humans were faster and clever. Taro watched in awe as the humans coordinated, taking positions that forced the Korati into traps of their own making. Velorian fighters followed the humans' example, learning to move quietly, strike carefully, and protect one another. Taro shouted commands, guiding his people through the canyon. Use the rocks for cover. Do not rush. Aim carefully. The Velorians listened and acted, gaining confidence with every successful strike. The Korati soon realized the humans were more than ordinary opponents. They called reinforcements, bringing more troops and advanced weaponry into the canyon. The humans did not panic. Rena directed her teams strategically, dividing the enemy into smaller groups and isolating them. She sent scouts to flank the Korati while the main group held their ground. Each move was precise, designed to turn the Korati's strength against themselves. Taro felt the tension rise as laser fire lit the canyon walls. Rocks exploded where energy bolts hit, and dust filled the air. Despite the chaos, humans remained calm. They protected the Velorians, ensuring civilians stayed out of harm's way. Taro realized that humans were not just warriors, they were leaders, teachers, and protectors all at once. After hours of fighting, the humans and Velorians managed to push the Korati back. The enemy retreated into the cliffs, leaving the canyon under human control. Taro looked around at the exhausted but determined faces of his people. "We did it," he shouted. "We can fight. We can survive." The Velorians cheered, their fear replaced with hope and courage. Admiral Rena called a meeting to assess the battle. "This is only the beginning," she said. "The Korati are strong, but we are stronger together. They will come again, but we now know how to fight them. We have learned, and we have grown." Her officers nodded, inspired by her words and the success of the first clash. The humans worked with the Velorians to repair damage, treat the wounded, and gather information about the enemy. Taro observed closely, learning new strategies and tactics. He realized that courage alone was not enough. Victory required planning, observation, and teamwork. The humans had shown his people that these qualities could overcome even the most terrifying enemy. That night, the Velorians gathered around small fires. Taro spoke to them, his voice filled with pride. "Today we fought with humans. Today we survived. They have shown us how to be strong, how to be smart, and how to fight for our home. Tomorrow, we will be even stronger." The Velorians listened carefully, inspired by the humans' bravery and leadership. High above the canyon, human ships remained in orbit, keeping watch for any new Korati movements. The humans communicated quietly, monitoring the planet and planning the next moves. They were patient, knowing that patience and careful strategy were as important as courage and strength. For the first time in many months, Xerex felt like a place where survival was possible. The Korati were dangerous, but the humans and Velorians had learned to work together. Taro looked at the sky, imagining the challenges that still awaited them. Yet, hope burned brighter than fear. With humans by their side, his people had a chance to reclaim their home and protect their future. The morning on Xerex was quieter than the previous days, but tension still filled the air. The Korati were not defeated, they were calculating, preparing for another strike. Taro and the Velorians worked alongside the humans to repair buildings and protect civilians. Every person knew the fight was far from over, but hope had returned. Admiral Rena gathered her officers for a strategy meeting. "The Korati have strong forces, but they are predictable. They rely on power and fear. We will use intelligence, misdirection, and speed to weaken them. Today, we change the battlefield in our favor." She pointed to a map of the surrounding region. "We will hit their supply lines, disable their weapons, and free any prisoners. The Velorians will guide us through the safest paths." Taro and a small group of Velorians joined the humans. They moved quietly through rocky hills, avoiding Korati patrols. Taro showed the humans hidden tunnels, narrow passes, and secret caves that even the enemy did not know existed. The humans adapted quickly, using this knowledge to move stealthily and prepare for precise strikes. The first target was a Korati supply depot. The humans and Velorians approached from different sides, surrounding the camp without being seen. Energy weapons disabled alarms and traps, while human engineers quickly dismantled Korati defenses. Taro led the Velorians in sneaking into the depot, removing supplies and ensuring no civilian or friendly alien was harmed. Within hours, the depot was neutralized. Rena observed the operation from a nearby ridge. "Excellent work," she said to her officers. "We are weakening the enemy without unnecessary losses. This is the kind of battle that wins wars." The officers nodded. They were proud, but they knew this was only one step in a much larger fight. Next, they focused on freeing captured Velorians. A small Korati outpost held several of their people. Taro led the humans through hidden paths, avoiding open plains where the enemy could see them. When they reached the outpost, humans moved with precision. Energy bolts disabled guards silently, while Velorians helped free the prisoners. Taro felt a rush of relief as he saw his people released. "We are strong together," he whispered. The freed Velorians joined the group, inspired by the humans' courage and strategy. For the first time, they saw that survival was possible. Even young fighters, who had once feared the Korati, now followed the humans' example, moving carefully, striking accurately, and protecting one another. As the day continued, humans and Velorians worked together to sabotage Korati weapon networks. They set traps, redirected supplies, and used clever tactics to confuse the enemy. Each success boosted morale, and Taro realized that the Korati were beginning to lose confidence. Fear and hesitation appeared where only cruelty and aggression had existed before. Rena checked the progress reports. "Every action matters," she said. "We are showing the Korati that strength alone is not enough. Intelligence, patience, and courage make the difference. The Velorians are learning this, and so are we." Her officers nodded, proud of the teamwork they had built with the alien population. By evening, the humans and Velorians returned to the settlement. Fires burned in controlled areas, and the air was filled with the smells of cooked food and smoke from repairs. Taro gathered his people and spoke to them. "We have done what seemed impossible. We have struck the enemy, freed our people, and protected our homes. Today, we have learned that we are not helpless. We can survive. We can fight. And we can win." The Velorians cheered, their voices echoing across the cliffs. For the first time in months, the colony felt alive with energy and hope. They had seen that humans were not just warriors, they were teachers, guides, and partners. Together, they had changed the balance of power on Xerex. Rena stood on a ridge overlooking the plains. She knew the Korati would retaliate, but she was confident in her team and the Velorians. "This is only the beginning," she said quietly. "The Korati will come again, but we are ready. We have knowledge, courage, and determination. Together, we are stronger than they are." That night, Taro looked at the stars, thinking about the journey ahead. The humans had shown that even the most powerful enemy could be challenged with strategy, cooperation, and courage. Xerex was still dangerous, but the impossible now felt possible. With humans and Velorians united, the planet had a chance to survive, to rebuild, and to resist the Korati. For the first time, Taro truly believed that Xerex could become a safe home again. The human fleet above the planet glimmered like a promise in the sky. They were more than just soldiers, they were hope, strength, and guidance. And with their help, the Velorians were ready to face whatever came next. The skies above Xerex darkened as massive Korati warships appeared on the horizon. They came in numbers larger than anyone had expected. Energy beams flashed in the distance as the enemy fleet prepared to attack. The humans and Velorians watched tensely from the cliffs and settlements below. Taro felt his heart pound with fear, but he also felt a strange calm. Humans had faced impossible odds before. Perhaps this was no different. Admiral Rena observed the enemy formation from the bridge of her command ship. She spoke firmly to her officers. "The Korati are powerful, but they rely on their numbers. We will use the terrain to our advantage. We will divide their forces, strike strategically, and protect the Velorians. Stay focused. Stay smart. Stay brave. Her words inspired courage in the humans, and through the comms, her confidence spread to the Velorians below. Taro gathered the Velorians near the cliffs. The Korati think strength alone will win, he said. We will show them strategy, courage, and unity. Follow the humans. Trust their plan. Today, we fight together. The Velorians nodded, gripping their weapons tightly. Fear was still there, but hope was stronger. The battle began when Korati ships fired on the settlements. Humans and Velorians moved quickly, using narrow canyons and rocky hills for cover. The humans deployed small strike teams to distract and divide the enemy. Energy bolts from their weapons disabled enemy ships and artillery, forcing the Korati to scatter. Taro led Velorian squads through secret paths, attacking the enemy from behind and cutting off reinforcements. Rina coordinated her fleet expertly. She instructed some ships to dive into the canyons, forcing Korati ships to follow where their numbers became a disadvantage. Other human ships supported the ground troops with precision strikes. The humans' combination of clever tactics and knowledge of the terrain began to turn the battle in their favor. Taro watched the humans fight. They moved with confidence, protecting civilians while striking decisively against the enemy. They were not reckless, they calculated every move, adapted to every change, and inspired everyone around them. Velorians learned quickly, following their example, moving with strategy and courage instead of fear. As the day continued, the battle grew intense. Energy beams lit the sky, rocks exploded under enemy fire, and dust filled the air. Taro and his Velorian fighters engaged Korati patrols, learning to anticipate attacks, avoid danger, and strike precisely. The humans coordinated every move, making the Velorians feel capable of standing against the enemy. Despite the overwhelming numbers, the Korati began to falter. Their formations broke as humans and Velorians worked together. Strategic strikes disabled key weapons and supply points, and careful ambushes reduced enemy forces without unnecessary losses. Taro realized that courage was only one part of victory. Planning, patience, and unity were equally important. By late afternoon, the Korati attempted a final concentrated attack. They aimed to crush the humans and reclaim control of the planet. Rina anticipated this and had prepared a counter-strategy. She instructed her teams to split the enemy forces further while humans and Velorians attacked from multiple directions. The Korati were caught off guard. Panic spread among their ranks, and they began to retreat. Taro led a Velorian squad in chasing the retreating Korati, disabling their weapons and capturing supplies. The Velorians cheered quietly, amazed at their own strength and bravery. Humans supported them with covering fire, ensuring no one was harmed unnecessarily. The combined effort of both species had turned the tide of battle. When the last of the Korati ships fled Xerex, silence fell over the planet. Smoke and dust slowly cleared, revealing the scars of battle but also signs of hope. Taro looked at the horizon, seeing humans standing tall despite exhaustion. They had fought not only with weapons but with intelligence, courage, and strategy. His people had witnessed what determination and unity could achieve. Rina addressed both humans and Velorians. Today we have shown that courage, knowledge, and cooperation can defeat even the strongest enemy. The Korati will think twice before returning. Xerex is safe for now, and your people have learned how strong they can be. But remember, strength comes from unity. Together, we are unstoppable. That evening, Taro walked through the settlement, seeing Velorians repairing buildings, tending to the wounded, and sharing stories of the battle. Hope was alive in every corner. The impossible had been achieved. Xerex had survived, not through raw power alone, but through courage, strategy, and cooperation with humans. Taro looked up at the stars, where the human fleet still hovered above the planet. He felt gratitude and respect. Humans had not only fought alongside his people, they had taught them, inspired them, and given them a chance to believe in their own strength. Zarex would never forget this day. The morning sun rose over Zarex, casting a warm light on the battle-scarred plains. The Korati fleet had retreated into the far edges of space, leaving the planet in relative peace. Taro walked through the settlement, watching his people repair damaged homes, care for the wounded, and rebuild what had been lost. The Velorians moved with new confidence, inspired by the humans who had fought beside them. Admiral Rena's ships remained in orbit, keeping watch for any signs of returning enemies. Rena stood on the bridge of her command ship, observing the progress on the planet below. "The Korati will not give up easily," she said to Lieutenant Mara, "but today, the Velorians have learned that courage, planning, and unity can overcome any challenge. They now have a chance to protect their home." Taro gathered the Velorians near the central square of the settlement. He spoke with pride and hope. "We have survived," he said. "We have learned how to fight with courage and wisdom. Humans have shown us that even the strongest enemy can be challenged. Today, we are not just survivors. We are fighters, leaders, and protectors of our home." The Velorians cheered, their voices echoing across the cliffs and plains. For the first time in many months, fear was replaced by confidence. Children ran through the streets with laughter, while families rebuilt homes and farms. The Velorians had learned that hope was not a dream but a reality they could create with courage and unity. Rena decided it was time to establish a permanent alliance with the Velorians. She called a meeting with Taro and the colony leaders. "Humans do not take help lightly," she said. "We came because we believe in courage, intelligence, and partnership. We offer you a pact: we will share knowledge, trade, and protection against future threats. Together, humans and Velorians can make Zarex a safe and thriving home." Taro felt a surge of gratitude and pride. He spoke on behalf of his people. "We accept your offer. Your help has changed our future. With humans by our side, we can rebuild our world and protect it from those who wish to harm us. Together, we will grow stronger, wiser, and united." The humans and Velorians began working together immediately. Engineers shared new building techniques, soldiers trained Velorians in tactics and strategy, and knowledge of agriculture and energy technology was exchanged. The settlement began to transform. Homes were rebuilt stronger than before, farms thrived, and the streets were filled with life and laughter. Taro observed the human soldiers teaching Velorians how to coordinate in small teams, use the terrain wisely, and plan attacks carefully. The Velorians practiced daily, learning from every mistake and every success. They no longer relied on fear or luck, they relied on skill, knowledge, and unity. Taro realized that his people were growing into something stronger than he had ever imagined. Rena and her officers monitored the planet from orbit but also spent time on the ground, participating in training, repairs, and planning. She encouraged the Velorians to ask questions, experiment, and develop their own strategies. "Knowledge is the greatest weapon," she told them. "Courage alone will not protect you, but courage combined with intelligence will make you unstoppable." Days turned into weeks, and Zarex began to feel alive again. The scars of battle remained, but the people had grown stronger. Taro walked through fields now filled with crops, children laughing and playing, and Velorians working alongside humans. The impossible had become possible, not through force alone but through courage, wisdom, and partnership. One evening, as the sun set behind the cliffs, Taro stood on a hill with Rena. The sky was filled with the glow of human ships, casting light across the plains. "Thank you," Taro said quietly. "You did more than fight for us. You taught us to believe in ourselves." Rena smiled. "It was not just us," she replied. "It was all of you. Courage, intelligence, and unity live in every Velorian here. Humans only helped you see it." Taro looked at the stars, imagining distant planets, future challenges, and the strength that now lived within his people. Zarex was no longer just a harsh and dangerous world. It was a home filled with hope, knowledge, and courage. The Velorians had survived, learned, and grown. And with humans as allies, the future was bright and full of possibilities. As night fell, the settlement glowed with lights from new buildings and fires. Families celebrated, children played, and the humans shared stories of distant worlds. Taro felt a deep sense of pride and relief. The SOS that had once seemed like a desperate hope had brought them more than help. It had brought courage, wisdom, and friendship that would last for generations. Zarex had survived. The Korati were gone for now. And the Velorians had learned that with courage, intelligence, and unity, even the darkest challenges could be overcome. The planet was ready to rise, stronger and wiser, and humanity had left an imprint of hope that would never be forgotten.